Hey, everyone out there in podcast land. Welcome to the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane, flying solo this week. We're taping on the 15th of September. This will hit on Saturday morning, the 18th. The Conquistador is gone. He has a massive amount of stuff going on this week, concerts, family stuff. We mentioned this last week. The last few weeks have been chaotic for both of us, so we're trying to piece things together for you guys, give you some content here before we get back in the flow next week, where we should be back to normal with both our normal Sports Frenzy 2.0 podcast, the mothership, and then, of course, the weekend edition, where he'll catch up on reviews that I am doing for you this week and one that I did last week with the Kevin Costner, Diane Lane movie, Let Him Go. But first, let's talk about music, my true love and passion. Unfortunately, not a lot to talk about in the world of rock this week. There are some signs that some of these tours are getting going again. Kiss back on the road after their COVID scare. Paul and Gene both had COVID. Now they're back out and rocking it on the farewell tour. Of course, with the luck that I have in life, I am bitter. Yes, I am. The Doobie Brothers just got back on the road last night, the 14th of September. And of course, that would have had to have been the first show following a string of cancellations. And the show I was supposed to see them at would have been the one before last night's, would have been Sunday night the 12th up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So, of course, just by the hair of my chinny chin, I get screwed again by the rock gods. So, we'll find out. There is still no rescheduled date. The Doobies swear they are going to reschedule these, I think it's 7 dates that they had to postpone due to COVID. They swear they're going to reschedule them. I feel better about the one that they have to reschedule for me and the Conquistador in Mississippi, because we've got an indoor show. So they can reschedule that December, January, February. Unfortunately, there are people who had tickets to outdoor shows like the Ruoff Music Center down in Noblesville outside of Indianapolis, where that's an outdoor venue. You're not going to be able to reschedule that until next spring at the earliest. I don't see how, unless they do it right now and get it within the next 3 to 4 weeks, because you can't go in Indiana beyond mid-October without dealing with weather and cold and issues that you do not want to deal with when it comes to an outdoor concert. So we'll see. I'm not optimistic. Been waiting on this show now for almost 2 years from the time it was announced and tickets went on sale. It's been delayed so many times. Want to see them, would love to see them with Michael McDonald. I have a very bad feeling that this is never going to happen for us. When I say us, I mean not only my friends, the people here in the Midwest who are getting hosed with the cancellations between, the COVID stuff. And like I said, the weather comes into play now, where you've got to push the show back even further than maybe they would want to. Not very happy about this whole damn thing with COVID. Still have 3 more shows left, not counting the Doobies if they reschedule in 2021. Tomorrow night, it's still on, just a little over 24 hours from now. Judas Priest. Finally, I get to see Judas Priest. Bad news is, it looks like masks are required for this show. This will be the first show I've had to see where masks are required. I am not happy. I don't like it. I can't breathe in a mask. I wear glasses. They fog up my glasses. I know, oh, you can do this, you can do that, you can buy this mask, you can buy that mask. Then why doesn't the government provide it for me? I'm sorry. I'm not a big fan of government aid, but if they're going to keep changing the rules or making new rules or pushing us here or pushing us there when it comes to the vaccines, I'm vaccinated, okay? Let's get that clear. I'm vaccinated. So what is the problem? I will show you my proof that I am vaccinated. Now I have to wear a mask too? I don't understand changes from state to state, from area to area, venue to venue, band to band. Give me a break already, will you? I did what you wanted me to do. I got vaccinated. I don't need $1,000 like in New York. I hear they're paying these people. Thanks a lot. You know, Michigan's doing the same type of crap, putting people in a lottery to win money if they get vaccinated. I did the right thing. I did the right thing, and I don't get any kind of privilege. I don't get any kind of money or payment. Now I'm going to see a concert I've been dying to see for 40 years. And I still have to wear a mask and I have to provide proof of vaccination. Stop putting those of us who actually abide by the right thing, who abide by the rules, who do the right thing. Stop penalizing us. Penalize the people who don't want to follow the rules, who don't want to do the right thing. And I'm sorry, I understand the whole concept of you don't want to put something in your body forced on you by the government. I get it. I do. I really, really do. But at the same time, you knew this was coming. I knew this was coming a year ago. And I said to myself, you're going to have to get the vaccine. You're going to have to get the shot so you can go see concerts again. And now, even though I get the goddamn shot, I still have to wear a mask? Makes me mad, makes me upset, because it's the people out there who are fighting this tooth and nail, who are ruining it for people like me. They're getting the incentives, they're getting payments to go get a shot. When I went out and did it as soon as I possibly could, I'm not getting any kind of government aid. I'm not getting any kind of payment for getting a shot. Yet I'm going to be suffering through my Judas Priest concert wearing a freaking mask that I don't want to wear because I can't breathe and it fogs up my glasses. Thanks a lot, all you idiots out there who can't go out and get a goddamn vaccine shot. They're not putting chips in you. They're not trying to make you infertile. For the love of Christ. Believe me, I don't love the current government at all. I can't stand them. They are a joke. But at the same time, you have to step up sometimes and do what's right. Just get the goddamn shot so we can move on and get on with our lives and go see football games and concerts without having to deal with all this crap. What are you holding out for? You think they're going to buy you a house and a car too? Get the goddamn shot so I can go see a concert without having to put a piece of cloth over my fucking face. God almighty. All right, rant over. Felt good though. I've been waiting to do that for a while. Been waiting to do that for a long, long while. As I said, I'm not in favor of people getting forced to get shots, but at the same time, you could see this coming a mile away with this current regime that's in charge in Washington. You knew this was coming. They're not trying to poison you or kill you. Just get the shot. That being said, next week we will have a mammoth, awesome, fantastic review of Judas Priest 50th anniversary tour. Yes, delayed a year. Deal with it. The math might not be right. Deal with it. All right, so to wrap up music real quick, I just found out today, Record Store Day, there's actually a Black Friday Record Store Day, which I did not know about. Usually, record store days during the summer. I believe they've already had two this year as it is, because I know I went to my local record store trying to find that Foo Fighters DG's LP, their BG tribute album. Half of it was Bee Gees cover songs, half of it was live stuff off their last album, Medicine at Midnight. Now, I will say something about Record Store Day, and I do like the fact they're trying to support local record stores, getting you away from Amazon, getting you away from Best Buy, even though I think Best Buy is becoming irrelevant more and more every day. And of course, with the comeback of vinyl, Record Store Day becomes more important. But at the same time, with the limited presses that they put on these albums, I got lucky last year and I got a copy of The Living Room, which is an offshoot of Collective Soul. But I didn't go on Record Store Day. I think I went the day after, and they luckily had a copy left over. But I'm not going to wait in line. It's like free comic book day. I'm not going to wait in line for 20 or 30 minutes to give you my money for these exclusive quote unquote albums or these, comic books. Again, going back to free comic book day. Just, I get it. We're trying to support fun retailers, music, comic books, whatever it might be. That being said, I'm not a big fan of you forcing me to wait in line and then I get up to the counter, or I get up to the stands where the albums are on display or the comic books are on display, and they're gone. The one I want is gone. So what was the point? Oh, you suckered me in. So what? I'm going to go buy something else? I'm going to go buy another album? I'm going to go buy another comic book? No, I'm not. I'm going to walk out pissed off. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to fall for this crap again. Albums are on the comeback trail, right? You see them in Target's ads. Now, granted, they're vastly overpriced, but press more of them. Make them more available. I don't like the whole limited edition. You have to sit there and wait. If we're going to do the Ticketmaster crap with concert tickets, the people that waited out in line back in the 80s, waited overnight, slept in their sleeping bags overnight in front of stadiums and arenas at the box office to get tickets, those people are warriors. They deserve to get the front row seats for those concerts. I was never one of them. Sorry. I was more than happy to sit in the front row on the upper deck or the upper bowl, wherever, whatever it might have been. But that was my choice. Now, there were times when I did show up 2 hours early and get in line and got my number. Remember that, kids? You got a number like a lottery. And then they would tell you, come back in another 2 hours. We'll put you in line based on your number. You can get your tickets. I still think to this day that was a better system than what Ticketmaster puts you through now, because Ticketmaster still lets in all the bots, all the ticket brokers, all the scalpers. And I'll go back to when I tried to buy tickets for Genesis coming up here soon. The first show on their last Domino tour, I had no chance in holy hell of getting a ticket unless I wanted to pay $200 or $300 right off the bat. Who can afford that other than the rich and the powerful and the ticket brokers? Sorry, I don't like it. Make it physically impossible for these idiots to get the tickets. I remember the Foo Fighters did this years ago. Now, I wasn't happy with it because they didn't play in my area, and I was expected to drive all the way down to Indianapolis to wait in line at, I believe it was the Ruoff Music Center in Noblesville. Sorry, I don't have the time to drive 2 hours down, wait in line, 2 hours back. Fine. You want to say I'm not a devoted fan? That's your call. That's your right. But where I live, they used to have concerts here all the time until the big university decided they didn't want to do it anymore because of liability issues. So basically, now there are no concert venues where I live unless you drive at least an hour and a half to 2 hours out of the area. So for me, Ticketmaster, Live Nation is a necessary evil. I don't like them. I think their system still sucks. I'll deal with it now the way I have to, the best I can. But again, full circle, tired of the COVID stuff with the concerts. And another thing, tired of the lack of quick refunds. I'm still waiting. We're going on 3.5 weeks since I had to ask for a refund for my Kings of Leon show that got canceled because of COVID. And I still haven't gotten my money back, even though they told me it was approved in late September or late August. We're in mid-September now. It was approved in late August. We're in mid-September. I still haven't got my money back. That's another thing that upsets me about these assholes at Ticketmaster and Live Nation. They'll take your money in a blink of a second, a nanosecond. They want your money. And you better get this in real quick. You better make your decision real quick. And they will pressure you and pressure you. You know what I'm talking about. You get pop-ups every minute. Oh, these tickets are going fast. You better make your decision now. You better make your decision now. They want that money as quick as they can get it. But the minute something gets canceled or postponed and you can't make the new date, guess what? Oh, yeah, well, we have to run it through the artist first. And then if we approve it, it might take up to 30 days to get your money back. You're earning money on interest on my money, and I'm not. And you've had my money for months and months. With the case of the Doobie Brothers, which started this whole rant, years and years. You've had my money, and you don't give me anything for it other than a goddamn headache. There's got to be a better way to do this. There has to be. And I do. I feel for the road crews and all the people who lost out last year in 2020 when they couldn't have tours and they couldn't get paid and they had bills they had to take care of. I get it, and I feel for them. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you get to hold on to my money forever and make interest on it. Because I know it's not going back to them. It's going into the pockets of the execs at Ticketmaster and Live Nation. All right. Let's do some TV and streaming news here. Dave's not here, of course, as I mentioned. So, guess what that means? I get to do a wrestling update. Hee. Big news out of the AEW. At their last pay-per-view, they brought in 3 big names formerly of the WWE. They brought in Adam Cole from NXT. Oh, and by the way, last night I saw NXT 2.0. I watched it for 5 minutes. I normally don't watch NXT anyway. What the hell was that? What the hell was that? Color splashes, I mean, rap music. What the hell was that? Sorry, you're not going to switch me over to watching NXT with that garbage. And I saw all the promos and all the ads they were playing during SmackDown and during Raw, and I had a bad feeling. And of course, my feelings were right. Looks terrible, looks awful, looks stupid. We'll get more in depth on this some other time. But Vince McMahon, really, him and his crew, Triple H, Stephanie, they don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. And that's why AEW is digging into their audience big time right now. So, as I mentioned, Adam Cole has moved on to AEW. Bryan Danielson, who, of course, you would know in WWE circles as Daniel Bryan, is now in AEW. That's a huge get. That is a huge get for AEW, following with the CM Punk signing a month ago. Now, this one didn't impress me so much, but a lot of people love it. Ruby Riott, now Ruby Soho, formerly of the Riot Squad in WWE, has moved on to AEW. Sorry, she doesn't do it for me. I don't think she's a good wrestler, and she's really kind of disgusting to look at. I'm not into the whole full body tattoo, weird punk ass look. Sorry, just not. If she was a better wrestler, maybe. But between I saw the other night, I think it was on Rampage, where she was teaming up with Chris Statlander. Oh my God. Jeez, what an awful tag team. I think it was a 6-woman tag team match. So there was a wrestler from Japan with them. Oh my God, what an awful match that was. I was rooting for the heel, Britt Baker, and her team over those tattooed idiots. Sorry, I got a tattoo. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ripping on people who have tattoos. I'm just kind of over the whole 40%, 50% of my body covered with tattoos, people. Nothing wrong with 2 or 3 or 4 tattoos. I'm done with the whole sleeves, face, neck. Get over it, okay? Cry for help, cry for attention. That's all it is. But again, that being said, huge win for AEW as they continue to grow and expand with the Khan money behind them. Of course, Shad Khan is the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and his son is running AEW and obviously has fun money to spend on all these wrestlers. I still don't think AEW is perfect, but I like them more than I do WWE. Speaking of WWE, it was kind of cool this past Monday on Raw to see Big E cash in his Money in the Bank contract and beat Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship. That was kind of cool. Not a big fan of Big E, especially because he hangs out with the New Day, who are the most overrated, irritating tag team of all time. That idiot with the trombone. I really wish somebody would take that trombone and stick it straight up his ass. Oh my God, who decided that was a good gimmick? And this is the problem with WWE. They still haven't gotten over the idiocy of 20, 25 years ago. They still think some of these stupid backstage storylines or staying away from true wrestling is so fun and creative. Alexa Bliss, great example. Nobody cares about her and her stupid doll. Oh my God. Please, can we get over it? I liked her before she took the evil turn. And I haven't even been watching wrestling that long. I got back into it about a year and a half ago when the pandemic hit. I can't stand this new Alexa Bliss evil crap. But WWE still thinks this stuff works. They still think this stuff sells. I think it's stupid. Sorry, I do. All right, good to hear that Cops is back. Unfortunately, they're going to politicize it. It's going to be on Fox Nation. You got to pay for it to see it. I don't like that. I hated the fact it went away with all the idiots in Seattle and Portland rioting against the police and all the Democrats and all the liberals jumping on the bandwagon. So Fox got rid of Cops. Actually, I think it was Paramount at that point. Fox initially had Cops, went to Paramount, I believe. And then Paramount, of course, being the liberal a-holes they are, got rid of it. Said they could not, paraphrasing here, could not, all decency show this anymore. But now, of course, Fox has got to take it on, which means, number one, it's politicized. And number two, you're going to have to pay for it. I'm glad it's back. You got to take it for what it is. It's entertaining to watch these idiot morons committing misdemeanors and getting caught. But you shouldn't have to pay for it. Some network should have the balls to put it on regular TV. Haven't watched the first episode of Y: The Last Man yet. Looking forward to it. I love the DC Vertigo stuff. Preacher, Lucifer, Doom Patrol. I love all of those. Still got to catch up on Lucifer, of course. Doom Patrol Season 3 coming here soon on HBO Max. So hopefully here next week on the weekend edition, I will be able to catch up on a couple episodes for you on Y: The Last Man on HBO. No, that's on Hulu. Sorry. Doom Patrol's HBO Max. Y: The Last Man is on Hulu. FX on Hulu. Finally, a couple shows that we always talk about that we love every week. Titans. Episode 7 of Season 3 aired last Thursday. We see a little bit more about Oracle, and a little bit more about the relationship between Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson. Have the Scarecrow's plans been thwarted completely? Probably not. When's Batman coming back? They've alluded to Tim Drake becoming the next Robin here. When is that going to take off? We haven't seen the Tim Drake storyline here probably in a month. Be interesting to see how they pull that in. And then finally, What We Do in the Shadows. Episode 3 of the 3rd season aired last Thursday. And of course, we met Nandor's longtime girlfriend, Gail. Wow. I don't want to spoil anything for you, so I will not explain Gail's background other than, it's typical What We Do in the Shadows. Is very graphic. I did not realize that this whole season was going to revolve around Nandor's love life as much as it has already through 3 episodes. But it is still funny. It's still the funniest show on television or cable. So please check out What We Do in the Shadows and Titans. And here, as we wrap up the first segment on the weekend edition, I will say, check out Animal Kingdom Season 5. Getting ready to wrap up on TNT. Phenomenal show. The Conquistador, of course, just starting to catch up on it now. So maybe at some point he'll review it. We can discuss it together here on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. All right, kids. I'll be right back with my first of 2 crappy horror movie reviews. Be right back.
In a world of politically correct sports coverage, two individuals stand alone as the last bastion of sanity. The Maestro and the Conquistador star in Sports Frenzy 2.0, the podcast.
Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. Hey everybody, welcome back to the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I'm flying solo this week. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. The Conquistador, Dave Hyatt, will be back next week. He is rocking and rolling tonight and tomorrow night with me. So he'll have tons of concert news for you. He sings Shine Down and the Struts with Mrs. C. And then, of course, tomorrow night we go to see Judas Priest. So we will have a lot of music news and reviews for you. Funny story here. As I took my first break, I was mentioning Alexa Bliss in wrestling. I have an Alexa, an Amazon Alexa Echo. I could just hear her going crazy upstairs. So probably when I get back up after I've done recording this podcast episode, I'll probably have some weird, crazy stuff on order from Amazon because she somehow took the fact that I was talking about Alexa Bliss and turned that into some kind of bizarre order or something. I've run into that in the past too. I know you guys have. If you have an Alexa where some of these commercials, some of these shows, they say that word, and all of a sudden your Alexa pops on and says, "What do you want? What's going on? Would you like me to order that for you?" So I got one for $5 on a promo about 6 months ago from Amazon. It's fantastic. For $5, can't beat it. Just for the simple fact you can use it for a timer and use it as a impromptu radio. If you don't want to turn on the radio or the TV and go to Odyssey.com or, try to track down the station you want to listen to for sports or for music. But like I said, there are times like here just a couple minutes ago where it can be kind of a pain in the ass. All right, so I have 2 horror movie reviews. The Conquistador will thank me when I see him tomorrow. I will tell him to not even bother watching these 2. 2 very different types of horror movies. And the thing is, both of them had potential. Both of them had fantastic pedigrees, actors, actresses, directors. So for this segment, we will start off with Freaky. Now, Freaky was one of those movies that they tried to push out to the theaters during the height of the pandemic. So obviously, box office numbers were awful. I don't even think it made $10 million here domestically. The concept of Freaky is creative to me, especially considering what we're dealing with in this day and age in Hollywood. And we'll bring up a couple tidbits in our movie news later on that will back me up on this. But of course, Hollywood is so bereft of any kind of creativity that even if you get a spin-off / play off of an old idea, maybe, possibly, could it work? Of course, Freaky is a horror movie take on the classic Disney movie Freaky Friday. Great idea. I love the concept. So instead of, the mom and the teenage daughter switching places, it's the teenage girl and a serial killer. So come on. You got to admit, that is a great idea, taken off of a classic idea. I'll give them credit for that. I will give them props for that beyond belief. That's why I wanted to watch the movie. That's why when it came on HBO here recently, I was excited to watch this. Plus, I love Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn is, I think, a very underrated actor, not getting the roles he deserves. Um, Catherine Newton plays the teenage girl. She also, one of my favorites. She's been in Supernatural. She was in one of the Paranormal Activity movies. So I was all set for something better than what I got. And unfortunately, Freaky is not as good as the cast and the concept would lead you to believe. Is it executed well? No, not really. I mean, it gets you from point A to point B, beginning to end, as it should, but it feels like a film school student came up with a really good idea, got a couple of really good actors to buy in, and then you see that it's basically film school level stuff. The wit is sophomoric and stupid. There's nothing funny about it. The horror parts of it are very generic and, again, stupid and silly. The plot does nothing beyond paint by numbers horror movie stuff. It wants to think it's smarter than it is. And I think I've seen that in reviews. I actually ducked onto IMDb today for this movie and the other one I'm going to review in the third segment. It thinks it's smarter than it is. And I agree with that assessment. It's not nearly as clever, not nearly as intelligent as it wants you to think it is. Like, you have to have the obligatory flaming gay character. I don't understand the point. I don't understand why, other than a couple of cheap, really sick jokes, especially early on. Again, it's got to fit Hollywood's current mold. You got to have this box checked, this box checked, this box checked to make sure it can get made. Fine, swell, great. Doesn't do anything for me. And it was not done in any kind of creative way. It felt forced. Very few moments in the movie overall where I actually thought, hey, this is kind of interesting. This is well written. This is neat. This is well done. This is well acted. Big, big disappointment with Freaky. I will give it 1.5 frenzies, is how disappointed I was with this. Again, went in with fairly high expectations, obviously not expecting a classic horror movie, but I was hoping for something I could recommend to everybody. Not even close. Don't waste your time on Freaky. Once again, 1.5 frenzies. And again, I will steer the Conquistador away from this one, as we always try to watch the same movies and review as many movies as possible together. This one, I'm going to tell him, pass. Take the pass on this one, bud. Okay, speaking of Hollywood being bereft of originality, they're rebooting The Bodyguard now. I have never seen The Bodyguard, even though I'm a big fan of Kevin Costner. I don't want to see The Bodyguard, let alone a goddamn reboot of The Bodyguard. You're telling me you couldn't come up with a little bit of a variation on the idea of The Bodyguard and do something completely different? No, because you want to cash in on the memories that a few people have about how great The Bodyguard was. Can't wait to see what idiot hip hop rap star they put in the role of Whitney Houston. Can't wait to see how they disparage her memory. And again, I never watched the original Bodyguard, but at least I had some semblance of respect for Whitney Houston. At least it seemed like she fit. Hell, look at A Star is Born. I have not watched the new A Star is Born, but I could at least see Lady Gaga playing that role versus Bradley Cooper, just like Chris Christopherson and Barbara Streisand. And we go back further. It's been done and done and done over and over again. But it just scares me to think what idiot they're going to pull out of the hip hop rap community to play the Whitney Houston role. This one could go either way. The sequel to Twins. You guys remember Twins? Another movie that I wasn't really overwhelmed with. I think I watched it once, decades and decades ago, back in Arnold Schwarzenegger's time when he was trying to be a comedian, like Sylvester Stallone was trying to be a comedian with Oscar and Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. Of course, Schwarzenegger and DeVito did Twins. Now it's been in development for a while. Triplets is supposedly moving forward. Now, originally, this would have been unbelievably fantastic. Eddie Murphy was supposed to play the third member of this very odd family, this very odd group of siblings. Of course, we know Eddie Murphy is flighty. Eddie Murphy, it's amazing to me he actually got through making Coming to America. So now Tracy Morgan has taken over that role. So again, Triplets is full steam ahead. Still optimistic. If it's done right, if it's written well, I could see this being fairly amusing. We'll see. Theaters, streaming, who knows? And then finally, here to wrap up the second segment on the weekend edition, taping here on the 15th of September. This will hit the morning of the 18th. Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, wherever you listen to your podcasts, we are there. Wanted to talk about this last week. We had a really rough week last week. We were tired when we were taping. We did the best we could. I know last week's weekend edition was kind of a mess. We skipped moments of silence. We skipped dumbasses, which I'll make up for this week. This was a topic I did want to bring up last week that had hit last Wednesday, right before we were starting to tape. Thought I could get it in. Didn't even think about it. Very interesting with this whole HBO Max, Disney Plus. When do you put a movie out in the theaters exclusively? When do you put it out simultaneously with a streaming service? I find this all very interesting. I'm a business major. I've got a BBA. I like the whole business side of Hollywood and music and TV. Now, we talked about and heard a couple weeks ago about how Scarlett Johansson is mad and suing Disney over Black Widow because the fact that they put it on Disney Plus with the $30 surcharge, she saw none of that money because her contract gave her a piece of the box office, not a piece of the streaming. Of course, now these actors and actresses have to adjust their thinking with their agents when they negotiate these contracts. So now It looks like Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be the next one to get screwed because Halloween Kills, the second part of the last Halloween trilogy, which started with the ultra successful Halloween a few years back. And of course, COVID again screwed up the release of Halloween Kills, and then there's supposed to be Halloween Ends next year. Well, now Halloween Kills will go to the theaters, but it will also be available on Peacock Premium the same day. That will absolutely destroy the box office numbers for Halloween Kills because it's $5 to sign up for Peacock Premium right now. And I'm not touting any of these streaming services one over the other. But this is what it's turning into, these wars between HBO Max, the Warner family, and then you got the Paramount, CBS, Viacom family, and the NBC Universal family. So now, for $5, basically, you can see Halloween Kills at home coming up here next month. Now, is Jamie Lee Curtis going to get crazy? Is she going to start suing Universal? Maybe they've already paid her under the table and said, we're sorry, we're going to do this thing this way to bring more people into Peacock, but here's a check for what we think you're missing out on because we didn't put Halloween Kills exclusively in theaters. We'll see. I have very major amounts of skepticism about these companies and if anybody would actually be kind enough and smart enough to do that. But again, maybe after what people have seen, companies have seen with Scarlett Johansson and Disney, maybe they are, if they're going to do this, maybe they are talking to these stars and these directors and these producers and saying, we understand this is going to change the terms of the contract we signed with you originally before COVID and before all this, day and date crap. So here's a check, here's a payment. If it's not enough, let us know. We'll talk about it. That would be the smart way to do it in my book. That's how I would handle it. I wouldn't want major actors, major agents, major producers, major directors in Hollywood getting mad at me about this stuff. It's a new landscape. It's a new world for everybody. It works for me. Definitely works for me because I have Peacock Premium, obviously, since I watch all the WWE pay-per-views. This works tremendously for me. So I don't have to go out. I'm all down with this. But I'm not the one that signed on the dotted line back 2 years ago to agree to do this movie when we didn't know we were going to have a pandemic. We didn't know we were going to start doing all these day and date releases. We'll see how it goes. This is still a fluid situation. I'm glad that the Marvel movies are still performing very well at the box office. Gives us hope. Quiet Place 2 did very, very well. Fast and Furious 9 did very, very well. But you look at the other side of the ledger, there's a lot of other movies that have failed miserably that in other conditions and other circumstances would have done a hell of a lot better. And I think we're really going to find out here in the next couple months, heading into the holiday season. How is the new James Bond movie going to do? How is the new Venom movie going to do? The Venom one is coming up here in a couple weeks. I'll be really interested to see how that performs. There is no simultaneous release on any streaming platform. I was not a huge fan of the first Venom. That's the thing I'm wondering about. Is this going to have a Suicide Squad type effect? Obviously, again, Suicide Squad was on HBO Max at the same time when it opened in theaters, but I think a lot of people were underwhelmed by the first Venom movie. So, what kind of pent up demand is there going to be for the second one? Granted, Carnage is a very appealing villain. I'm seeing projections around 60 million for the opening weekend. That feels about right to me. And again, I was happy with how Shang-Chi is done, even though the more and more I see of it in clips and snippets, the less and less I like it. I don't care about all the ratings, the fantastic Rotten Tomatoes ratings. Everybody says it's the be all end all. I don't care. I judge a movie based on my thoughts, my feelings, my perceptions, my decades and decades of movie viewing. And what I have seen does not make me want to run out and see it. Let's put it that way. All right. We're going to wrap it up here. One last segment coming. One more promo for you. Yeah, we got to do some new promos. We're running through these old promos. I don't even know how accurate they are anymore because we shifted from being Spotify and Anchor exclusive on the weekend edition months and months ago to being all over the place. So the Conquistador and I have to dig up some new pop culture references and do some new promos for you. But you're going to have to suffer through another old one. And then I will be back with another overblown, overrated horror movie that just came out recently. Stay tuned, kids. When the mindless zombies at the major sports networks won't leave you alone. When the forces of evil on local sports radio have you cornered. Load up the boomstick known as Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, and Castbox. Kevin Dave will drive the dull and boring voices in your head away and offer you the sports salvation you need. New episodes drop every Thursday. And don't forget the weekend edition every Saturday, where the Maestro and the Conquistador might just review your favorite horror flick. Sports Frenzy 2.0. It's groovy. Hey everybody, welcome back to the final segment of the weekend edition here on Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Solo this week, the Conquistador, Dave Height, will return next week after he gets through rocking and rolling through tons of concerts. It's been a crazy couple weeks here. We got kids going back to school, going back to college. So please forgive us if we've been a little off our game, especially last week's weekend edition was a little bit nutsy, cuckoo, crazy. We had been recording on very little sleep after the Guns N' Roses show. So we missed our moments of silence. We missed our dumbasses. I'll make up for that here coming up in a few minutes. I do want to get one more movie review in, though. And again, I am going to save the Conquistador a lot of trouble, a lot of stress, and a lot of wasted time. And this is my fault. I do try to find us movies that look interesting, that look like they could show some promise of being good. I will never, ever consciously try to make us or schedule a movie for us to watch that looks like a piece of crap. I don't want to do that. We both have lives. We don't need to waste 2 hours of our lives watching garbage that Hollywood churns out. Now, it's going to happen sometimes. They're going to trick us. They're going to fool us. Last segment, I told you about Freaky. Somehow, even though I only gave it 1.5 frenzies, I don't feel like I was tricked. It just was a good concept with a good cast done very poorly. Ultimately, yes, it was a waste of my time. I wish I hadn't watched it, but I don't regret it, if that makes any sense. Here's another one where I'm going to say the same thing, not in terms of cast. Vince Vaughn, Catherine Newton, and Freaky, I knew who they were, liked them. This movie did not have anybody in their cast that I really knew, but it had a pedigree in terms of its director. I'm talking about Malignant, which just debuted in theaters and on HBO Max this past Friday. And I'm still digging this whole HBO Max same day in theaters thing. And we can play this out till the end of the year through The Matrix 4. And, once we hit 2022, I'll probably dump HBO Max because this is the only reason I'm really keeping it. They do have other good things on there, but the main reason I am keeping HBO Max as a streaming service is because of these day and date movies. And we'll talk about that a little more at the end of this segment when we talk about things that are coming up that we're going to review. But Malignant comes from James Wan. James Wan, oh boy, how do I talk about James Wan? I am a huge, huge, huge fan of the Saw series. Don't classify me as a sicko. I think the Saw movies, for all the gross blood, guts, disgusting stuff that are in them, are very well done, are very creative, are very well written. You've got the revenge factor in there, like Final Destination. Those movies, you've got the creative ways people are killed. I know that sounds very weird and very bizarre to say. I'm sorry. You can look at Escape Room, same thing. It's not just Friday the 13th or Halloween with somebody with a butcher knife slashing people up. If you are a horror aficionado, you know what I'm talking about. There are people out there who don't want to see any movie with any kind of bloodshed, and that's fine. A lot of the buzz I was hearing about this movie was it was oh so gross and oh so terrible and oh so bloody and nasty, and I didn't see it. Maybe I'm desensitized to it. I've seen movies with 10 times more gore, and I'm talking about mainstream regular movies. I'm not even talking about, you know, black market weird, B movie level crap. I'm talking about Saw. I'm talking about, even though I hated it, Hostel. There was a lot more gore and ridiculous, over the top, bloody nonsense, let's put it that way, than in this. But now, in the end, Malignant's just not a good movie. I'm sorry, it is just not a good movie. There's a twist in the climax, which is kind of what hooked me in. I was going to watch it anyway. Again, with James Wan attached, I figured with his pedigree with Saw in terms of horror movies, he did The Conjuring, which I've never watched any of those. But I have so much respect for the Saw movies in terms of sheer terror and horror that I wanted to give Malignant a shot. And I wish I hadn't. As opposed to Freaky, which I reviewed in the last segment, Malignant has no sense of humor. There is no sense of humor in this movie whatsoever. This is straight on Life sucks. It almost has a feel of Seven, which I watched recently, um, for the first time in quite a while. That very dark, murky, everybody's evil, everybody sucks type vibe to it. And again, I'm not going to give you the twist. I'm not going to do that to you. You can watch it on your own. I think the twist was underwhelming and silly to a point. Um, the special effects in this movie are borderline terrible. Um, and the thing is, again, I mentioned in the last segment when I was looking through Freaky on IMDb, and I saw a lot of generally positive reviews for that one. I saw the same thing for this, not overwhelming, in the 6.5 out of 10 area, which is not terrible and not great by IMDb standards. But if I was reviewing these movies, again, I gave 1.5 out of 4 to Freaky, and I'm going to give 1.5 frenzies out of 4 to Malignant. I don't understand what these people are seeing that gives them, that makes them want to give a 7 or a 6.5 or a 7.5. These movies are not good. They're a waste of your time. Malignant has very few moments that I would even recommend in just little snippets on YouTube. Again, no humor. It's not well written, not really well acted. Uh, Annabelle Wallace plays the main character in this. It literally looks like she's trying to play a clone of Angelina Jolie. Watch the movie. I don't recommend it. Watch the movie and tell me if I'm wrong. She is literally trying to play Angelina Jolie. No characters you care about, no characters you want to care about. The only reason I'll give it 1.5 is because there is an interesting twist in there very quickly in 2 different scenes about the Seattle Underground. Yes, the movie takes place in Seattle, and supposedly the Seattle Underground is a real thing. So if you're going to pull something out of a movie, do it like this, like I did here with Malignant. This is almost like a learning exercise. This is almost like a history lesson that I never got taught. They say that Seattle was built on top of Seattle. Due to a natural catastrophe, they had to build Seattle on top of old Seattle. So there is an underground Seattle beneath the Seattle that we all know. And the way things are going, they're going to burn down this Seattle and they're going to have to build another one on top of this one. But supposedly this is true. So at least in that respect, the movie got my intelligence flowing, my gears grinding, and I found that very interesting that at least they introduced me to this underground Seattle. Check it out, look it up. That's about the only thing I can recommend about this movie. Again, badly acted, badly written, special effects are terrible. Where is Rick Baker when you need him? That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Where is Rick Baker when you need him? So, 2 terrible horror movies, 2 terrible reviews for you this week. I'm sorry. I can't give you anything positive to watch this weekend outside of, like I said, with TV. If you're not watching Animal Kingdom, What We Do in the Shadows, or Titans, catch up on all three. Quick preview for next week, and I will wrap this up. Dave and I will review Clint Eastwood's new movie, Cry Macho. This is another one of those same day and date HBO Max releases coming this Friday, the 17th. So he and I will have reviews of Cry Macho for you next week. Also, we've been promising it. We will get you a review of Iron Maiden's Senjutsu next week. And also, I'm thinking, since it comes out here on the 17th, same day as Cry Macho, the 4-song Billy Idol EP, The Roadside, should be able to get a review for you on that next week as well. So, thanks for hanging with me, doing the solo thing this week. Appreciate it. Love you guys. Rate us. Check out our Sports Frenzy 2.0 Facebook page. If you like sports, football picks, NASCAR picks, check out our Sports Frenzy 2.0 podcast, the mothership as we like to call it, where we rant and rave and complain about today's athletes, but also break down everything going on: baseball, football, hockey, NASCAR, yes, even basketball. And a quick plug for my own personal podcast, which I just started. If you like what I talk about when it comes to music here on the Weekend Edition, please check out the Fortress of Rock with the Maestro, exclusively on Spotify and Anchor, because I do put music in there. You don't have to be a Spotify premium subscriber to listen to it. You just won't be able to listen to the songs I put in. Thanks again. Appreciate you guys. Love you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week with Judas Priest. Dave will also review Shinedown and the Struts. Lots of concerts next week to talk about, so you don't want to miss that. Take care. We'll see you next week. All right, kids, consider this an addendum to the Weekend Edition, taping here on September the 15th, 2021. This will hit on the morning of Saturday, September the 18th, 2021. Again, I don't know how I keep missing this. We forgot to do our moments of silence along with our dumbasses of the week. And of course, huge moments of silence here. Catching up from last week first, the awesome classic Today weatherman Willard Scott passed away, known, of course, for always honoring anyone who reached 100 years of age. As well he should. What a milestone. I don't want to talk about Al Roker. I don't want to compare the two because there is no comparison. Al Roker's a jackass, but that's a topic for another day. Ricky Lee Reynolds of Black Oak, Arkansas, passed away a couple weeks ago. Of course, they're considered a classic band, but they really didn't do a lot that people know. I think Jim Dandy is the one everybody knows. So, be that as it may, anytime we lose somebody in the world of rock and roll, they get a moment of silence here. So, thoughts and prayers. Now, the two big ones, and I was going to wait another week and not tack this on to the end of my solo Weekend Edition that I'm doing here, but I didn't think we could really wait another week. It might become a little bit stale, done to death. No pun intended. Sorry. First off, Michael K. Williams, unbelievable actor. Two things that I will love him for forever in terms of his acting, the roles he took on, the people he played. First off, The Wire. I got sucked in years ago to The Wire. I heard all the hype. Everybody was saying how awesome the show was. You've got to watch it. Nothing else like it. And it's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. I've heard that before. Been there, done that. This time you believe the hype, kids. If you have never watched The Wire on HBO, you need to watch it. It is, if not the greatest, one of the greatest crime dramas ever created. And Michael K. Williams plays an integral role in this. The Wire, if you're not familiar with it, takes place in Baltimore. Every season focuses on corruption in a different segment of the government and society. And it is done so unbelievably, so remarkably well. When I started watching it and I got sucked in, I said to myself, I cannot believe I hadn't been watching this sooner. And Michael K. Williams was a big part of it. Now, the other reason that I love Michael K. Williams is because if you've actually taken the time to watch the 3 seasons of Hap and Leonard on Sundance, I think it's Sundance. I don't think it's IFC. I think it's Sundance. The Joe R. Lansdale based series. Hap and Leonard are two backwoods country bumpkins who are actually smarter than you think they are, actually become private detectives and get sucked into all these really bizarre, weird cases. Michael K. Williams played Leonard, who was gay. Nothing wrong with that. Again, if you write things the right way, if you don't shove your political agenda down our throats, again, no pun intended, and you just let us enjoy the character for who or what they are, like Leonard, like Michael K. Williams played Leonard in these Hap and Leonard episodes in these 3 seasons, we don't have a problem with it. People don't have a problem with it. And that's what made Michael K. Williams great, was that he could play characters like that. And he didn't make it out to be a political statement or a political agenda. He just was who he was. And I know he had problems in his personal life. There were rumors of addiction, which is sad, which is tragic because he passed away. He was only, I think, a few years older than I am right now. I hate when talent like this dies young. Where were the people around him to help him, to give him the support he needed? He had another 10, 15, 20 years of unbelievable, fantastic acting ahead of him. And now that's gone. Speaking of dying too young, and I know next week the Conquistador is going to weigh in on this. So again, I was torn whether or not to add this on to the end of our weekend edition. hear me going solo, but I felt like another week passes, memories fade. I wanted to get something here in as soon as I could about Norm Macdonald. Norm Macdonald was never really my cup of tea in terms of I never thought he was the funniest on SNL. I never thought he was the greatest on SNL, but he fit his role perfectly. His dry sense of humor was fantastic. Then, of course, Dave will bring this up next week. We loved him as Burt Reynolds on those Jeopardy parodies, especially the one where he called himself Turd Ferguson. Uh, just brings a smile to my face. Yes, potty humor, whatever. Sorry, we're not Woody Allen fans around here. Okay? We're not into the whole subtle humor. We like blatant, outward, crass, nasty humor. Big Lebowski, Clerks, Bachelor Party, Caddyshack. That's what we strive for in terms of our humor. Hot Tub Time Machine. Norm Macdonald didn't fit into that mold, yet he did. Great, great anchor for Weekend Update. This is back. The problem with this is, and I could go on and on and on about Saturday Night Live. I could do a whole episode about Saturday Night Live. And maybe next week, Dave and I will go into more depth on this. I'd like to pull him in on this a little bit. But Norm is one of the few last guys standing that was still at least halfway funny, still doing stuff that was halfway funny from that era of SNL that we loved. Sorry, SNL hasn't been funny for 20 years. It hasn't. Get over it. We don't want the politics. We don't need Alec Baldwin playing Donald Trump. Okay? We get it. It's been done to death. You're liberals, you're Democrats, you're New Yorkers. We get it. Ha ha. Really fucking funny. Go back to Norm Macdonald. Go back to Will Ferrell. Go back to Adam Sandler when it was really a funny show. Again, I want to bring the conquistador in on this, so I will cut myself short here on this little addendum to the weekend edition taping on the 15th of September. One final note. I'm going to segue into the dumbass of the week in the entertainment world, and I'll tell you why. And you might think this is cold, you might think this is callous, and I don't care. We talked about this a few months ago. Let me point out, Norm Macdonald died at 61 years old. He had cancer for 9 years, kept it under wraps, didn't exploit it, didn't tell anybody except for maybe the closest people around him. Okay? Then you've got an idiot who is my dumbass of the week just for the fact that she exploits the fact she's got cancer. She uses it to get more looks, to get more likes, to get more hits. Kathy Griffin, I hate you. I despise you. I think you are what is wrong with this world. You're a scumbag. You use a disease that kills hundreds of thousands of people a year. It killed Norm Macdonald. He didn't use it. He kept quiet. He suffered in silence. He fought it for 9 years. Yet you, the first chance you get, you have cancer. Oh my God, I want to let everybody know on Facebook and Instagram how I'm doing. Let me know. Give me thumbs up, thumbs down, give me heart emojis. After all the shit she pulled when Donald Trump was president, holding bloody images of Donald Trump's head up, and this scumbag wants to use cancer as some sort of a way to get more likes and more views. People like her sicken me. They don't need to be on the face of this earth. I would trade Norm Macdonald for Kathy Griffin in a second. Show some grace, show some dignity, show some pride. R.I.P. Norm Macdonald. Next week we'll get more into that. Thanks for hanging out a little bit longer with the extra special long addendum here to the weekend edition. I'm the Maestro Kevin Crane. I will be joined next week again by the Conquistador Dave Height. Thanks very much, kids. Have a great weekend.